My name is Verinda and I come from Katharamatam in the Ernakulam district. I am deeply grateful to my mother, father and Holy Son for allowing me to testify at the altar. I am an aerospace engineer and I signed my first covenant on January 19th, 2024. For 3 years, I had been pursuing an opportunity to go to Germany. My husband is of Greek origin. I had never been to, but before that, I was planning to move to Germany on a job seeker visa, a relatively easier route for highly qualified professionals, similar to how one might travel to the Gulf countries on a visit visa. I had solid professional experience in both mechanical and aerospace engineering, which formed the foundation of my career. I had also completed my German language certification up to the B2 level. During this period, I was actively preparing for my move to Germany and was still unmarried. My plan was to settle in Europe and then get married. It was during this time that he came to India and we started planning our wedding. A key detail about the job seeker visa is that one must apply through VFS well in advance, often 6 months to a year ahead, and wait for a slot to become available. They notify applicants by email when it's time to proceed. I had booked my slot around March, April of the previous year, which coincided with his visit to India and the beginning of our wedding preparations. I had initially planned to move to Europe, earn my own income, and get married later, just like many independent women today. However, he said, I can apply for a Greek visa. He is a Christian and I am a Hindu. I wanted to first introduce him to my family and then meet his parents, but unfortunately, the Greek visa was rejected the first time. At that point, we were not yet married. It was in August last year and the visa was rejected a second time as well. Around the same time, I received an appointment for the German job seeker visa, the slot I had booked 6 or 7 months earlier. Then on October 1st last year, he had to return to Greece due to mandatory military service there. I insisted that he go as it was compulsory. Before he left, we got married on my Holy Mother's birthday. However, due to the lengthy procedures involved in the Special Marriage Act, we had to register the marriage through an alternative method. The certification process was quite complex and we had to consult with lawyers. It was very challenging to get everything sorted from our side. In Kerala, following the COVID-19 pandemic, international marriages can now be registered online. This means that the bride and groom do not need to be physically present together for the registration. My local registry office is in Mulimthuruthi. I met the officer there, who is also a lawyer and has facilitated many such marriages in our region. The High Court had appointed certain officers in each district to oversee such legal processes. By God's grace, a relative of mine was one of the supervising officers involved in this legislation. With his help, we were able to complete our marriage registration online. As a result, our marriage certificate includes a note stating online registration. This all took place before my covenant here. After the registration, my husband returned home. I continued with my application process for the German job seeker visa. I already had a strong professional network in Europe, and my husband is also a European citizen. I had many friends there, so I felt confident about my plans. But as our father Joseph wisely says, when our confidence grows, we often forget the gifts God has given us. With that confidence, I went to VFS in Bangalore to submit my visa application. Unfortunately, my visa was rejected. I submitted an explanation and reapplied, but it was rejected again. That was a situation I was in when I came to Kreupasanam. I lost a lot of money and it took a serious toll on my mental health. I had always been a workaholic, but I ended up quitting my job, which left me feeling deeply depressed. I was raised in a very spiritual environment at home. One day we were on our way to the Chocolate temple via Alappuzha when by chance my mother pointed out the Kreupasanam church. I don't know why, but I felt an instant connection in my heart when I saw it. We continued on to the temple and returned home. About a month later, I received the news that my visa appeal had been rejected. That was the breaking point. I mentally collapsed and had no idea what to do next. Then on January 19, I came to Kreupasanam by myself. I hadn't read the Kreupasanam newsletter or heard anything about the church. I just came without knowing why. I truly believe it was Jesus or the Holy Mother who called me here. That very day, I took the covenant. My thought was that we make a covenant with the mother. I had studied in a Catholic school and as part of our school activities had participated in Holy Mass many times. I had always felt a closeness to Jesus, though I was raised as a Hindu due to my family circumstances. When I returned home that day, I made a promise to Jesus. I said, I swear, Lord, that I and my future generations will remain close to you. After that, many things began to change in my life. I even found myself doing missionary work with great joy and conviction. Gradually, I began to experience deep mental peace. I started distributing the Kreupasanam newsletters, numbers 15 and 16 bundles. I fully surrendered myself to God. I longed for my mother to come into this faith as well, but I knew I couldn't force her. She would often pray with me, and one day I prayed to the Almighty with a specific request that my mother would take the covenant within a month, not for any personal gain, but simply so that she could experience the same peace I had found. As I hoped, after I took the covenant, exactly 1 month later, my mother also came and took the covenant. Her younger sister was having trouble taking her diabetes medication properly, and my mother came to Kreupasanam to pray for her healing. The first significant event after my covenant involved my closest friend, who lives in the UK. She was pregnant and completely alone, no family, no roommates, when tragedy struck. The baby lost its life in the womb, and getting immediate medical help was not easy in her situation. In desperation, I put a candle prayer request here and prayed. Miraculously, the baby was expelled naturally from her womb without any surgical intervention, and my friend remained healthy. She returned home last June and took the covenant here. Another miracle took place. On March 7th, I had reached a point where I needed a job desperately, as my husband was about to begin his compulsory military service. Amazingly, I was offered a good job at exactly the right time. Later, my husband was even granted a 2-year exemption from military service, something we had not expected. But the most profound moment came on April 23rd. I saw the Holy Mother appear directly in my room. I had always been devoted to praying the rosary and often prayed multiple rosaries daily. Even though I am a Hindu and there were churches nearby, I was afraid to attend in person. Instead, I regularly joined the Holy Mass online. There were some difficult situations happening at my workplace. One day, while I was sitting and reciting the rosary, I had a powerful spiritual experience. I saw the Holy Mother standing beside my bed, wearing the same dress I had seen in a vision before, with her hands bound. At times, it felt as though it was Father Joseph whose hands were tied. I was completely frozen. I couldn't speak or move, but I could see the mother watching me intently. My own mother was downstairs at that moment, sitting on a mat and reading the Bible, but she couldn't see what I was experiencing. I couldn't call out for help or explain anything. All I managed to whisper was, "Holy Mother." Hearing this, my mother thought I was simply calling her since no one else was in the room. That experience marked a turning point in my spiritual journey. I grew much closer to God. Though I am an engineer with a strong background in science, I came to realize that science is nothing in comparison to the spiritual experiences and power of God. At the same time, another miracle occurred. My father, who is autistic, was staying in a rehabilitation center. Within just 2 or 3 weeks, his condition improved significantly, so much so that my Holy Mother gave me her blessing to bring him home. It felt like a direct answer to prayer. After that, I began visiting Kreupasanam regularly for meditation. Every week until September 8th, some weeks, depending on my work schedule, I would come 2 or even 3 times. Before one of my visits, scheduled for May 5, my Holy Mother came to me early that morning and said, "You must apply for the Greek visa today." I had seen a vision like this. I can't prove these things to anyone else, and when I shared it with friends, they dismissed it as just my imagination. But I knew in my heart it was real. That same day, after attending Mass at Kreupasanam, I sat in the 5th row and began my worship. Sister Jane Rose, who had been guiding me spiritually, had gone on a 10-day retreat with the other sisters, so I was alone. I prayed the rosary, recited the creed, and asked Jesus for guidance. Then, while reading the Bible, I came across a passage that said Paul the Apostle was traveling to Athens. I was amazed. Athens is the capital of Greece, the very place I had been praying and preparing to go. My eyes filled with tears. It was a powerful confirmation that God was with me and cared for even the smallest details of my life. A verse came to my mind: obedience is better than sacrifice. Jesus also reminded me of Exodus 13:21. By day, the Lord went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud to guide them on their way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light. Often saw many images of Jesus in the sky, and in the candlelight, I felt the presence of both Mother Mary and Jesus constantly with me. In return, I gave Jesus the only thing I could, my obedience. I truly lived by the verse, obedience is better than sacrifice. I followed everything that was said from here. When I was in 5th grade at a Catholic school, Sister Daya used to write Bible verses on the blackboard every morning. I still remember many of those verses. I think of her with deep gratitude. The seed she planted in me as a child has now grown into a strong tree of faith. I also remember my teachers with love and appreciation. I still maintain a good relationship with many of them, and I've had the chance to do meaningful things for them in return. Eventually, I stopped trying to do everything on my own and approached a visa consultant. I told them I wanted to apply for a Greek visa, but they said it would not be possible as it had already been rejected several times. They suggested trying for a Schengen or Switzerland visa instead, since my husband was now looking for a job in Switzerland. After being exempted from military service and Jesus, a job opportunity had opened for him there. Our plan was to go to Switzerland on a visit visa, and then I could travel to Greece since it was within the Schengen area. But my husband advised me not to rush into anything. He said, let's wait a little longer. However, I believe this path had been shown to me through prayer and divine guidance. I felt I had no other option. Even though I had a visa slot booked in Kochi, I went to Bangalore instead, combining the process with missionary work. I originally planned to stay only one day, but ended up staying 3. While I was there, I attended Mass daily at St. Thomas Church in Baharam, fulfilled my missionary commitments, and submitted my visa application. On the day I stood outside BFS in Bangalore, it was extremely hot. Yet right then, a rainbow appeared in the sky. Just for me, it felt like I knelt right there and prayed. But despite all this, my visa was denied again. During this time, I felt even closer to Jesus. To attend Holy Mass every day, I moved out of my apartment and relocated to Udiyampuru near Chipunitho. I would leave home by 6 a.m. every morning, attend Mass, and then head to work by 9 a.m. People around me began to ask questions, and it made me very sad. Even my husband would say things that hurt. I used to confidently tell him, Mother will give me the visa on the 7th page of my passport. But one day he asked, where is that visa on the 7th page? I had no answer. We had nothing concrete to show. No proof, no results. On July 5, I resigned from my job. It was a new startup company, and I left after completing all the responsibilities I had been given. After that, I came straight to the Kreupasanam because it was my Holy Mother's job. I had to tell my Holy Mother too. Jesus and the Holy Mother always gave me a yes in my heart, even when things were silent on the outside. I then gave myself completely to missionary work. I have an aunt named Suma, and together we went to many places, including Ernakulam General Hospital, serving and praying for people. I regularly visited an old age home and ministered there too. Gradually, I started forgetting about the visa altogether. My heart became more and more attached to Jesus. I had no connection with the outside world anymore. On Sundays, I would come to Kreupasanam for worship, daily mass, and to pray the rosary. One day, I cried out to the Holy Mother in frustration. I said, didn't you break my faith by not giving me the visa? But when I went for mass that day, Jesus corrected me gently in my heart, telling me not to speak that way. So I began fasting for 40 days. I prayed earnestly. I attended daily mass, sometimes even 2 in a day. I prayed the rosary, recited the creed, and did the stations of the cross. And I waited. One day, after returning from missionary work, I received a call from my husband in Switzerland. He said, today, my aunt, who lives near our house in Greece, came over for tea, as per their custom. I found out that her son-in-law works at the embassy. Maybe we can go and explain our situation to him directly. Left everything to Mother's will. Suddenly, he told me, I'm coming to India on September 11. We'll go to the embassy on the 12th. Our family friend there will take care of everything. To be honest, I was anxious that this might disturb my Holy Communion time, but I remained submitted to Jesus. I had only 2 or 3 sets of clothes. I didn't care about anything else. Before we went, I attended Holy Communion, recited the Rosary and the Creed, and anointed all my documents with the oil of the covenant. On September 12th, we went to the Greek embassy in Dili. We had already sent multiple emails to the embassy over the past year. We had couriered documents and made countless calls. But there had been no response, yet now things were about to change. Legally, there seemed to be no way forward. But the Holy Mother replaced our close friend with someone even more powerful, the very person responsible for stamping the visa. I didn't even know we were going to meet someone so important at the embassy that day. We had only gone to submit the documents. Our main intention was to register our marriage, but the process was taking time. About 2 hours, I had holy salt in my pocket that day. Even then, I hadn't told my husband much about my faith or the covenant I had made with the Holy Mother. While we were waiting, I was praying silently to Jesus and to the Holy Mother, all the while looking at a photograph of the Greek ambassador on the wall. Just then, a woman walked in and approached us. I had no idea that she was the ambassador herself. She sat and spoke with us for nearly half an hour. During our conversation, she shared that her own marriage had a similar story. Her husband was Egyptian and it had taken them 7 years to finally be together. She said that there was no hope. I wasn't afraid because I knew it was Mother and Jesus who were taking me there. So I waited patiently. After about 2.5 hours, the official just below the ambassador arrived. I didn't know his full name, but his initials were Panos. Interestingly, in Greek, Panos means mother. He came in with our friend and the first thing he did was apologize. He said, "We may not be able to proceed with your request because your marriage certificate says online registration. That's the issue." He explained that unless this could be changed, they wouldn't be able to accept it. I calmly told him that changing it wasn't possible. Our certificate, like all Indian government-issued documents, is auto-generated through a centralized software system. Mine even had an apostille attestation, a seal that confirms the document's validity internationally, especially in Europe. It is issued by the Ministry of External Affairs. I explain, if the Indian government says it's valid, what can I, an ordinary citizen, do? Still, I didn't want to cause any conflict, so I called the registration officer who had handled our marriage. I knew him personally. When I explained the situation, he said it wasn't possible to change anything. Even he was saddened by the situation, but deep in my heart, I could hear Mother telling me, "I didn't bring you this far to abandon you." I had no tension at all. I then asked the embassy officials, if this certificate is not acceptable, what is the next possible solution? Quietly, I spoke to Mother and, "Jesus, in my heart, I want to speak, but more than that, I want you to speak for me." That's when the official said, "Go ahead and apply for the visa. Let's see what happens." One of them even said, "The door of this embassy will always be open for you." These were things an ordinary citizen could never expect. To that moment, I told Mother, if I step into this embassy again, the officer who speaks to me must speak about you, Mother. I was able to speak about the Holy Mother at the embassy, fulfilling the promise I had made to her. I stayed in Delhi for a week to process my visa application. In the evenings, our friend from the embassy, an official, would join us. At the time, I didn't realize that he was one of the people who actually stamped the visas. Later, my husband told me the truth. Our friend was indeed one of the 2 officials responsible for stamping visas. Whenever applications came in, they would divide them between themselves for review. Only if our friend received our application directly would he be able to handle it. He also mentioned that even after that, the application would need to pass through 5 additional levels of review. On September 15th, I submitted my visa application. Our friend promised to recommend it on our behalf. I had given him our covenant objects. Afterward, we travelled to Haridwar and Rishikesh. Along the way, we celebrated Holy Mass and prayed the Rosary. Whenever we saw a church, we would pause and offer prayers there too in Rishikesh. My husband began feeling unwell due to the climate, but I continued my spiritual journey. I visited churches using Google Maps for direction and sat by the banks of the Ganga, reciting the apparition prayer and my prayer beads. I shared the message of the Holy Mother with everyone I met, even the monks. I had some international friends with me during this time, and I sensed that Mother was preparing me. This was the beginning of my missionary work in Europe. Honestly, I didn't enjoy the Himalayan trip very much, so we decided to return home. Then, on September 27, my visa was granted. On the very same day, we came to Maliekkal St. Thomas Church. My husband had taken my passport to the altar and was praying there. That moment was filled with both tears and joy. When I opened my passport, I saw that the visa had been stamped on the 7th page, just as I had prayed and asked Mother. It was my greatest testimony. To me, the visa was only a symbol. What truly mattered was the blessing of growing closer to the Holy Mother and to Jesus. Before our journey to Dili, I had fasted for a full day. During that time, Jesus reminded me of something from my school days. I had studied in a Catholic school where we attended Mass and prayer every day. By the time I graduated after 10th grade, my routine was to kneel at the altar, make the sign of the cross, pray, and leave for home. That's what we all did. But on my last day there, I whispered a prayer to Jesus. Even if my circumstances change, even if I forget you, please don't forget me. Just as the Lord raised David beyond what he imagined, Jesus lifted me up twice as much as I ever hoped. Through my teachers, I received the education I needed, and he gave me not just a husband, but a beautiful family in Europe, more than I ever imagined. As family and I will forever remain in covenant with the Holy Mother. This is what I want to say to her and to Jesus. The covenant is not just a promise, it's a way of life. It has uplifted the human in me. It has made me younger in spirit and stronger in health. I am now able to do the things I was created to do, spiritually and faithfully. If God blesses me, I will have the grace to accept Jesus. I am doing the things towards that. I am waiting for that great day. 1,000 thanks to my Holy Mother and Holy Son who have given me so many blessings.
In Genesis chapter 12, we see the Lord calling Abraham, "Leave your country, your relatives, and your father's house, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great." When this daughter Verinda came forward with her mother Omana to share her testimony, it became clear that every experience she shared was a journey led by the hand of God, a reflection of the same divine care that led Abraham to a land not his own. Like Abraham, Verinda did not know where her path would lead. She left behind her comfort, her familiar surroundings, and moved forward in obedience to the call she felt deep within her spirit. Her husband is Greek, and their marriage had to be recognised by the Greek government, an essential step that presented many challenges. On top of that, her visa was rejected not once, but 4 times. Yet all of this was part of her mission. Verinda grew up studying in a Catholic school where she received a strong spiritual foundation. In today's world, testimonies like hers are a blessing. The Jesus she encountered in her childhood never left her heart. Though raised in a Hindu household, she held on to that relationship and faithfully walked the path that the Holy Mother showed her. She is an aerospace engineer, a space engineer in the field of aeronautics. And despite her education and career, she never forgot Jesus. She trusted in the Holy Mother and followed the quiet, faithful path laid before her. And because of that, all things began to work together for her good. Just as God made a covenant with Noah and placed a rainbow in the sky as a sign for all living creatures, a rainbow also appeared in Verinda's life at a moment when she was waiting for her breakthrough. It was not a coincidence. It was a sign of covenant. And this daughter fasted and prayed for 40 days. She served others through acts of mercy. She prayed the rosary with deep devotion. She recited the apparition prayer of Kreupasanam. Despite every obstacle, she did not give up. And remember, she is not a Christian by tradition, yet many children raised in Christian homes do not show this level of faith. Her story should make each of us reflect. Where do we stand in our relationship with Jesus? Through all the trials, she clung to Jesus. She said, "Even if I forget you, do not abandon me. Keep me close to you always." Today, we pray that the Lord will richly bless this daughter, Verinda, and her entire family. May their lives continue to reflect the grace and favour of God. Let us all give thanks to Jesus and to the Holy Mother for this beautiful testimony. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Holy Mother. Worship you, Jesus. Praise you, Jesus. Amen.